All right, we're going to sing a little song that describes Krishna in Vrindavan and his friends and the gopis and Mother Yashoda. Srila Prabhupada would sing this song at the beginning of every class to evoke that mood of Vrindavan. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, I've been thinking about this class for quite a while, planning it for the next time I got to give the Sunday feast talk. And that was kind of a surprise this morning, because we had Trivikram Swami here for a while, but he went up to LA for the festival there, celebrating the birth of Rukmini, who's the presiding goddess there in New Dwarka, sitting there with Dwarkadisha on the altar for many, many years. So this class is going to, the theme is boats. How to cross over the ocean of birth and death. Srila Prabhupada, or let's say Krishna, he describes in the Bhagavad Gita very distinctly and thoroughly how we don't belong in this material world. Before I begin, let me offer my space. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chukshur Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and to all members of Shri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So the basic instruction in the Bhagavad Gita, it begins with 20 verses on the nature of the soul as opposed to the body. This world is known as the world of Maya, or the world of illusion. And we're all, every embodied soul is under a grand illusion that we're this body. Certainly it's true amongst the lower animals, and also among human beings for the most part, that we identify with whatever body we happen to be born in. So the first lesson is that the soul, the self, is eternal. No birth, no death. But the bodies, obviously, take birth, they grow, they develop, they dwindle, and finally they pass away. But then the soul takes another body. Now, this human form of life is said to be a very great opportunity, because we can understand these things and we can solve the problem. The basic problem of every living being in this world is this birth, old age, disease, and death cycle, which goes around and around and around. We keep going through that. Does anyone here remember his last birth? I don't. But we learn from Krishna and Bhagavad Gita and the whole Vedic literature that this is a basic tenet of reality, is that we keep passing from one body to another. And what determines our future body? Well, in the lower animals, it comes automatically. We're automatically evolving the consciousness. And it's often said that we also have been through that cycle. We don't remember, and that's really a blessing of the Lord. He says in the 15th chapter, it's easy to remember this verse number, 15:15, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto mattak smitir jnanam apohanangcha. I, as the super soul, reside in the hearts of every living being. And from me come knowledge and remembrance and also forgetfulness. So Krishna is there with us. And he's trying to give us good instruction, but we can't hear because we're too much absorbed in the externals. Sometimes we hear, we have a pang of conscience, we want to do something, no, that's not the right thing to do. That's the super soul, that's the voice of the super soul. But for the most part, we're oblivious, even though we're getting knowledge and remembrance and forgetfulness from that super soul. Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita, Maya jakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam, that this whole universe, this whole world is moving because of his supervision. We know there's, many of you know there's gods and goddesses, there are higher beings than us, such as Lord Indra. Indra is famous here. Many of you know the pastime. Indra is in charge of the weather and the clouds. And generally, there's Indra Yajna, the sacrifice in any agrarian society in India, Bharatavarsha. And they want regulated rain. Not too much, not too little, and at the right time. That's the ideal. So Indra will give that if he's propitiated. And the Vrindavan society is agrarian. They depend on the cows and growing crops and so forth. It's rural. So they would have regular Indra Yajna. But Krishna came and he questioned his father, what is this yajna preparing? You have all of this ghee and you have all of the Brahmins gathered, and what is going on? Is this, as if he didn't know. And so his father at first thought, oh, he's too young. He's like 7 years old. What is he going to know about these things? Like a little boy, a 7-year-old boy, comes to the kitchen table on April 10th, and his father is, filling out the tax forms. And the boy wants to know, what's going on, Father? What can he know about that, right? Pay the tax to the government. So he at first thought, but Krishna persisted, and so his father explained to him, this is for Indra, we have to perform like that. So Krishna said, no need. He pretended to be an atheist. He was saying, what is this karma? Indra, all the gods have to fulfill your karma. And they're just functionaries for the higher power. So your karma is supreme. It's karma mimamsa. You simply perform your duties nicely and everything will be fine. You see? So his father was puzzled, but Krishna was so charming. He has a special way of talking. He can convince anyone. This is part of his vividadukkha bhasavi. So finally, because they loved Krishna so much, they said, okay, well, what do you want us to do? You take all this paraphernalia and you now have a worship the Govardhan Hill. Govardhan Hill is really, what does Govardhana mean? It means nourishing the cows. There are so many wonderful grasses and beautiful streams there. And the gopis say that this is the best servant of Krishna, Govardhan Hill. Not only are they wonderful grasses and streams for the cows, but there are also little caves where Krishna and Balaram and the boys can go and play, and there's soft grasses for the cows and everything. So that we worship Govardhan. So Krishna, he told them, you do this, you circumambulate, and then we have this big offering, and all the little towns and villages were bringing all their, and we have Annakut. Annakut means a mountain of food. You see? And you can imagine, in feasting, everyone gets to feed. Everyone eats, from the Brahmins down to the dogs. Everyone can be fed on this. So that was Krishna's doing it. And Indra became enraged. He didn't recognize that this little boy is actually his master. Who is that foolish boy? They took that foolish boy's advice. I put a little poem. So you can imagine Krishna's standing there with the hill. And it says, when Krishna stopped King Indra's sacrifice, that monarch of the heavens threw a fit. So there's Indra speaking. Those foolish cowards took that foolish boy's advice. Such insolence I never shall permit. So Indra sent the clouds of devastation to pour down constant hail and rain. with winds and without cessation, the cowards called to Krishna in their pain. To show his coward friends his boundless love, and curb Sri Indra's pride for his own good, Shri Krishna lifted Govardhan above and saved his friends while 'neath the hill they stood. So this is one of the pastimes. So the point is that Krishna has come, he came, as he says in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. This famous verse, probably many of you know this. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanama dharmasya tadatmanam sujanam. In the 4th chapter, it is whenever and wherever there's discrepancy in dharma, in real religion, at that time and place, I advent myself, you see. So he came 5,000 years ago in order to protect the devotees. Okay. Any other cell phones that are live, please make them silent, or some other way avoid the interruption. So he came to Personality Sadhanam, to protect the devotees, to annihilate the demons, and to reestablish Dharma. This is his basic means. So Krishna came again 535 years ago, something like that, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, not everyone realizes that, but he's supported in the Shastra. There are verses that describe that in the 11th canto of Bhagavatam, also in the Mahabharata. And what did he do? He also did the same thing. He didn't kill any demons, but he had the weapons of the holy name. And he killed the demonic mentality in the heart for those who would accept mercy in the process of chanting the holy name. So what I'd like to do tonight, before I get too far afield, is to share with you 3 descriptions of different boats in which we can cross over this dangerous ocean of birth and death. Sometimes this world is compared to an ocean. You know, we have an ocean out here. It's very peaceful. That's why it's called Pacific. But it can also become dangerous if there's a big earthquake, the tsunami comes, you know. And the water, because of the climate change, so much of that heat that's global warming is being absorbed by the oceans. And this is one of the reasons why we have extreme weather. Right now in Houston, there's like hurricane winds blowing and it's tornadoes, you know, just in America. And here, remember last year we had a hurricane scare? I think it was last year, wasn't it? I mean, it turned out to be a dud, thank God. But it could happen. Hawaii, you know. So this is because of the disruption and the violation of Krishna's laws. This is how nature reacts. See, there's extremes happening here. Even the pandemic was also like that. So, in any case, for each one of us, our life in this world is like we're in a dangerous ocean. And we should want to, and learn from Bhagavad Gita and other books' authority, that we should try to make progress in getting out of this bondage of birth and death, or across the ocean. And so I'm going to share with you some verses from the Bhagavatam that describe the boat. There's 3 different boats. The first one, Srila Prabhupada would often quote this verse from the 11th canto. It's part of the what's called the Uddhava Gita. Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita, but then just before he left this world, he disappeared, he spoke the Uddhava Gita. Uddhava was his very intimate friend and devotee from Mathura, and also he was there in Dwarka with him. And so Uddhava heard this and he questioned him. It was just expanded on many of the themes of the Bhagavad Gita. So in that Uddhava Gita, Krishna speaks this verse. Okay, it's in the 11th canto, which is where they find the Uddhava Gita. And here's the verse. I'll give you a translation. Nirdeha madhyam sulabam sudurlabam plabam sukalpam gurukarnadharam maya nukulyena nabasviteritam puman bhavabdim natadetsa atmaha. Very instructive. Translation. The human body, which can award all benefit in life, is automatically obtained by the laws of nature, although it is a very rare achievement. This is a play on words. Sulabam, sudurlabam. These are basically opposites. Sulabam means easy to get. Sudurlabam means very rare, hard to get. So sulabam means that you automatically get it. without trying. The consciousness keeps becoming more and more advanced until you enter a human form of life. Every living entity comes to that point. So we're in that situation. But also Sudurlabham, it's rare. Just on this planet, what do we have? We have about 8 billion human beings, they figure now. But how many mosquitoes are there? How many ants? How many dogs? These millions and billions and billions more. So in that sense, it's rare, but it's also automatically gotten. So it's very rare achievement. This human body can be compared to a perfectly constructed boat, having the spiritual master as the captain and the instructions of the personality of Godhead as favorable winds impelling it on its course. So we have these 3 advantages: the human form of body, and we have the captain. The Prabhupada would always call the bona fide guru, coming in the line of acharyas. And as a guide, every boat needs a captain. And favorable winds. It's one of these sailboats. There's no motor on this boat. You know, favorable winds, which are Krishna's words in the Vedas, in books like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and others. So we have all these facilities. Considering all these advantages, a human being who does not utilize this human life to cross the ocean of material existence must be considered the killer of his own soul. Now we know that the soul can never die. But just imagine, you ignore all these advantages and use the body facility for trying to enjoy fleeting sense gratification, and all of that ensures another body. And oftentimes, especially in this age, you'll do things that you'll lose the human form of life. You go down, dog's life, whatever it may be. In other words, we're misusing. It's a tragic misuse of the human form of life. So that's the lesson of this verse, is that we have all these advantages. Due to Srila Prabhupada's efforts, we have the Vedas, the Krishna's words. Vyasadeva wrote the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's exhaustive, the Bhagavad Gita, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Nectar of Devotion. All of these books together are tremendously favorable winds that can take, but we need to accept them. We need to read them, have faith, and try to mold our life according to the tenets in these books. So that's the first boat, is the human form of body itself. Now another boat verse is in the 10th canto, 14th chapter. This is the prayers of Lord Brahma. This is such a wonderful, delightful pastime, one of my favorites of all time. So Krishna is out playing with his friends, and as often happens, Kamsa, he sent various demons to try to kill Krishna. I think many of you know the pastime, where Kamsa heard there was an omen that the 8th son of Devaki will kill you, Kamsa. You know, he heard that, so he was always ready to... Devaki wasn't exactly a sister, cousin sister. You know, they were cousin. But in Vedic culture, in the Bhagavatam, I looked it up, the word svastra is there, which means sister. Sister-like, very, you know. But he's a demon, so he was ready to immediately... He's riding the chariot, you know, it's a very festive occasion. Devaki and Vasudeva had just been married and everything's very... Then the omen speaks, and then immediately Kamsa is ready to pull her hair and to cut her head off. Krishna. So Vasudeva, you know, he spoke to him, and basically he appealed to his sense of, it would be a bad look, you know, it would ruin your reputation if you killed your sister at the time of her marriage. And she's not going to hurt you. It's her 8th son. I promise to deliver, and he was known for keeping his promises, Vasudeva. I promise to deliver to you any child that's born, you know, and you can do what you want. Anyway, it's a little bit of a hair-raising story, because Kamsa, because of his bad advisors, he kills all the children, so any of the children. So he kills the first 6 sons of Devaki that were born. Pretty gruesome. They're later saved and brought back by Krishna, but it's... So, then, you know, it goes on, the 7th son is Balaram. He's a little older than Krishna, right? So he was in the womb of Devaki, but he was instructed, Maya was instructed, well, take that baby and put him in the room of Rohini, who was taking shelter in Vrindavan, which is another wife of Vasudeva. And so everyone thought she had a miscarriage with the 7th son, but actually the seventh son was Balaram, and he was a little older than Krishna. Then the 8th pregnancy is there, you know, and everything. So Vasudeva broke his promise, And Krishna arranged, all of the guards fell asleep, the shackles came off, and he was able to take the child to Vrindavan, very famously, and replace, Yashoda had just given birth to a female who turned out to be Maya, and so they exchanged, and then Maya came, and Vasudev, he didn't know. He had broken his promise, and he thought, well, he's going to kill this child, but I can't let Krishna be killed. But she wasn't killed. She flew out and she chastised Kamsa. You fool! The baby who was going to kill you was born somewhere else, So he was terrified anyway. So then Krishna starts growing up in Vrindavan, and all these wonderful pastimes go on. So reciting these little pastimes brings up the third boat. And this boat I just discovered a few months ago when I was reading the 12th canto. There's 12 cantos in the Bhagavatam. And there's one chapter there that's all about different kind of annihilations. It's kind of a sobering chapter. The universal annihilation, the partial annihilations, and even our own death is for us a kind of annihilation. So it goes through that. And then at the end, there's a very hopeful verse. It's a wonderful verse. And this goes like this. I don't think any of you know this one. Sangsara sindhum atidustana muttitesho. Nanyak plavo bhagavatak purushottamasya. Lila katarasa nishevana mantarena pungso bhaved vivada dukkha davarditasya. Now this verse is unique in that it gives the analogy of the material world both as an ocean, which is very common, but also as a blazing forest fire. Those who know or do attend Mangalartik or have attended sometime, the song we sing, the very first words we sing are about how the spiritual master is like a cloud pouring down and extinguishing the blazing fire of samsara. Sangsara dhava anadalita loka tranaya. Tranaya means to save. So this world is both like an ocean and like a blazing forest fire. In either way, it's dangerous and painful, and we want to get out of it. That's the point. So here he says, for a person who is suffering in the fire of countless miseries and who desires to cross the insurmountable ocean of material existence, there's no suitable boat except that of cultivating a transcendental taste for hearing the narrations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's pastimes. That's why I brought this Krishna book. That's what this is all about. You read Krishna book and it's got Krishna's pastimes in there. And Srila Prabhupada, it's what he called a summary study. It's not as formal, with the verses and the word by words, but he's just giving a running translation with running commentary in it. So it's very readable as pastimes. And especially the childhood pastimes. You have these 33 chapters, ending with the rasa dance, actually going up to the killing of Kamsa, which is Krishna's pastime before he goes to Mathura. And all of those pastimes are his childhood pastimes. And very, very delightful. Just like this pastime of, and he's killing these demons, and some of them are like hair-raising. I think the worst one is Putana. Putana is specialized, she's a witch, who specializes in killing babies and drinking their blood. Can anything be more terrible than that? So naturally comes and says, well, okay, Krishna's baby, to go find him and kill him. So she's a yogi. They're all great yogis, shapeshifters. So she enters Vrindavan as a beautiful young girl, woman, and she walked right into the home of Nanda. And because of her beauty and her, grace and everything, they accepted, oh, maybe the goddess of fortune has come, And so he goes right into the place where Krishna's resting, and Yashoda and didn't say anything, and she goes there, and she had the idea was she was going to suckle Krishna, but she had terrible, instantly activating poison on her breast, as she put. So she goes there, and Krishna closes his eyes, and there's a whole lot of commentary. Why did he close his eyes? Because he didn't want to see her. She's such a horrible person. He knows anything, and she has some inkling that he's not just an ordinary little baby, but she's tasked with doing this. So she goes and he sucks the milk out with the poison, but he sucks out her life also. And then suddenly she expands. Was it 12 miles or 8? I think 8 miles long. She's huge, and everyone is shocked. What is going on here? Because they don't know that Krishna's God. They just think he's a wonderful little baby, So then it goes on like that, and eventually Krishna grows up, and what they call the cynosure of everyone's eyes. Everyone in Vrindavan loves him. That's the whole meaning of Vrindavan. Not just the human beings, the cows, the calves, the trees, the land. Everything is there for Krishna's pastimes, and everything is conscious. So hearing those pastimes, cultivating it, that's why I brought this Krishna book. Prabhupada wrote it, beautiful illustrations, and I remember when we used to read it every night before taking rest. We'd have hot milk, read Krishna book, and the idea is to try to dream of Krishna and wake up, like that. So remember, this serious business, because cultivating a taste for lila kata, the rasa, the mellows, this is a boat. Now why is that? Because how does this whole process of transmigration take place? Why are we bound here, you see? And it's all because of what is described in the Bhagavad Gita. We have what are we actually? So we have these senses, and they're composed of, Krishna describes in the 7th chapter, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. These are the building blocks for every body. What's the bones? It's earth. What is the blood? It's a certain kind of liquid. What is digestion? There's a fire of digestion, you see? And of course, we're all breathing. We're very conscious of that during the pandemic. Yeah, I want to keep breathing. Right? The air is essential. So earth, water, fire, air, and ether is space. And then the subtle body, which does not die when the gross body dies. The mind, the intelligence, and the ego. Now it's called ahankara, or false ego, because we have a false sense of self. We're not identifying as spirit, we're identifying as this particular body. I'm this gender, I'm this race, I speak this language, I was born here, this is my name. I like to give you an example of the driver's license. If you go through a red light or you go through a stop sign, right? And the cops get you, oh boy, now I have to pay a ticket. So they pull you over, and then they ask, what do they ask for? License and registration, right? So what's on that license? There's your picture, right? Your age, your eye color, your address. These are all what are called false designations. This is we identify. Yes, that's me. Look in the mirror. There I am. Right. So no, you're not there. We've never seen ourselves or each other because we're all spirit. You see. So the way in which the transmigration goes is it's according to the attachments that you build up during your life. You see, whenever you enjoy something, some material thing, food or association with the opposite sex or a million different other things, that plants a desire seed in your heart to do it again. Right? Oh, that was nice. Let's see if we can arrange to do it again. And not being able to do that because you're older now, you can't enjoy it, that's a source of misery and anxiety. So you try to do some other enjoyment, right? So all of this is recorded in the subtle body, in the mind. And when the gross body dies, it's just a machine. And all machines break down eventually. And so what happens? The subtle body continues. This is explained in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita very nicely. And how we, our likes, our dislikes, our fears, all of that is in there. And there's a body waiting for us. There's a higher, powers, the demigods and the super soul are keeping track of everything, just waiting so we can try to fulfill those unfulfilled desires. And we get payment, for our good or bad deeds. That's also being recorded. That's part of it. So that's all recorded in the subtle body, and it's known by higher powers, and we take our birth on this planet or even some other planet. So, but we want to try to end that. So that means we need to start withdrawing our attachment for the material side and placing it in Krishna, and that's the great essential meaning of this process of yoga, bhakti yoga. What are we trying to do? We come to the temple. You've all visited the temple. I'm sure one of the main reasons you came is so you can see these beautiful deities, right? Radha Giridhari. I've been here 35 years. It never gets old. Seeing the beautiful dressing, wonderful service of the pujaris you appreciate, And there's Radharani. You should be aware of this. Mudras are very important. We all use mudras, these mudras. I like to give an example. What's this mean? No, I'm not, show me. you know. Or how about this? I don't know. Or, of course, this famous one, right? The prayer. And a million different others. So Radharani is giving us this mudra. This is called the Abhay Dan mudra. Can anyone figure out what that means? The gift of fearlessness. She's there. She's in there. That hand, that right hand. It's always giving that. So, and she can do it. She's Krishna's internal energy. She is in charge of mediating all the devotional service. If we do some sincere devotional service, Radharani will say, look at this nice devotee. He or she brought you this nice offering, you know. Show him some mercy. Oh, okay. Because Krishna is very submissive to Radharani, right? So this is Ladini Shakti personified. Ladini is the pleasure of prema, of love, personified. She's one of Krishna's energies. So here we get darshan of Srimati Radharani and Krishna. There's Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda. There's a wonderful ashtaka about Lord Nityananda. I'll give you just the last line, because I wrote a poem. I forget the poem, but the last line is Bhaje Nityanandam Bhajanata Dukhandan Niravadhi, written by Vrindavan Das Thakur, who wrote a beautiful biography of Lord Chaitanya called the Chaitanya Bhagavatam, companion to the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, what does it say? There's, friends entrapped in Kali's clutches, yearning to break free, just worship Nityananda Ram, the root of the Bhakti tree. Now, why is Lord Nityananda the root of the Bhakti tree? Because he's Balaram. And Balaram is the one who gives the Bhakti Shakti. The spiritual master is a representative of Balaram, who gives a spiritual strength in order to practice Bhakti Yoga. But it's been made so easy in this life, in this age. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalo nasteva, nasteva, nasteva gatadanyata. Even if you can't memorize verses, this one you can memorize. There's only 3 different words. You know, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama. What does it mean? If you want to achieve the supreme goal of life in this age, when dissension and chaos abound, that's the meaning of Kali Yuga, then there's no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way that can ever be found but to chant Krishna's name. But to chant Krishna's name, but to chant Krishna's name with a stout-hearted vow, and to pray, O Lord Krishna, O friend of the poor, let my head ever unto your lotus feet bow. So that last line is from the Trinadapi Sunichena. You know, that's another point. But the idea is that we've been given the means, all facility, for developing a taste for hearing Krishna's pastimes, which is the boat. And that means developing our attraction for Krishna, and attraction for the holy name, for the association of devotees, everything related to Krishna. And that attraction will give us some vairagya, developing vairagya, which means detachment from these material things that are keeping us coming back again and again. In other words, that's the real boat. That's another important boat, and that's why I brought out this Krishna book, which is filled with stories of Krishna. And Prabhupada has a beautiful introduction. We even have a nice little introductory note from George Harrison. George Harrison paid for the first printing of this, $19,000, which is a lot of money in 1968, 70. You can multiply that by 5 or 6. You know, what would it be today? So he donated that. This is a wonderful story, I'll tell you this. So Shyama Sundar was the liaison with George Harrison, you know, the original Shyama Sundar. And he was one of Prabhupada's intimate devotees, one of the pioneers who opened up the UK for Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada wanted to have a world Sankirtan mission, you know. So the first 3 couples, they were all couples, Yamuna and Guru Das, Shyamasunda and Malati, and Mukunda and Janaki. The 3 couples, he sent them to London. And he trained them like in one day or something about the techniques of kirtan. Now, Krishna's arranged, Mukunda Goswami was a professional musician. He was really expert. And so he learned how to play the mridanga in a few days, you know. But then the key was Shyamasunda, who was very good with people, you know. And he, it's a long story, but he had engineered a meeting with the Beatles, especially George Harrison. And it turned out that George Harrison, because of his wanderings in India and everything, he was wanting to meet the devotees. Some of you may know there was a record that was cut in 26 Second Avenue, At the first, this was the middle of the 60s. A whole kind of funny things were going on at that time. And there was a speech of Kennedy, and he'd been assassinated, so that had been made into a record. So he wanted to make a record because Allen Ginsberg had gone to India and coming back, and he was chanting Hare Krishna. He didn't know why, but he liked the mantra, but he was chanting, and he was very famous at that time. So anyway, Prabhupada, he said, would you like to make a record? But yes, absolutely, make a record. So, but you want to have the Madanga playing. There were no Madangas. Prabhupada came, he had no instruments with him. Maybe he had some kartals. But you see how important the Madanga is in, the kirtan. Where to get a Madanga. So, if you don't have Madanga, we have a little bongo drum. You see Prabhupada, and if you know the history of Tompkins Square Park, you see, you go to YouTube, he's playing for 3 hours, and of course, because of the purity of the energy he's attracting. But so the night before, they're going to have the recording. Now talk about miracles. When you see them, a fellow knocks on the door. He comes through the door. He got a Madanga. Where did he get a Madanga? So Prabhupada said, bring it up here, bring it up here. And he started playing the Madanga. It was just another amazing thing that Swamiji could do expertly. Prabhupada was trained from childhood to play the Madanga. And you hear on the record, it's just exquisite, the way he's playing. So anyway, this boy had his Madanga. I think I know where he got it, because I lived there, not in 66, but at 68. I lived a block away from Tompkins Square Park. This is a long story, for about a year. And there was a restaurant called Paradox Restaurant, which is very important for bringing Prabhupada down. This was a place where all seekers and people who'd been to India would come and they'd meet. It was macrobiotic. And macrobiotic, a lot of rice and beans and vegetables. You get for $1, you could have a big plate. And then sit all day with a cup of tea and schmooze. So it was a live place. And then right next to it was this store selling Indian musical instruments of all, Indian musical instruments. There was a sitar there and everything. I don't remember seeing a Madanga, but I went in, I think I bought a flute, because I was a flute player. Every so often I get my friend here, when he gives class, he wants me to come and play a few licks on the flute. You can hear it on YouTube. Forgive me, Krishna. So anyway, maybe he got it there, I don't know, but he has this Madanga, just like we have here. So he's playing it, but of course it's his Madanga, and afterward he wants to go home with his Madanga. So you got to give it to him. But they told him, we're going to have a recording session tomorrow morning, and the Swami wants to know if you could bring the Madanga, before then. So he agreed, but they were doubtful that it would really happen. And sure enough, he brought down Madanga. And so you'll hear that on the Prabhupada's playing in accompaniment to the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. So the point I'm trying to make is that all of these boats are available for us going across this ocean of birth and death. And they're really related, because Nirdeham Adyam Sulabham Sadhulam. Okay, we appreciate that the human form of life, this is the first thing, that we have the facility, the intelligence, unlike the lower animals, to actually reflect upon who we are, what our goal in life is, and how we can achieve it, you see. And Srila Prabhupada, by his efforts, starting from nothing, basically, but Krishna was guiding him, go here, go there, and it was perfect timing. And he provided the knowledge in his books. And you should remember, you should also know, just like if you read the Bhagavad Gita, you're associating with Krishna through his words. He's not different from those words. When he says, Manmana Bhava Man Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskaru, he's speaking to every one of us. This is the two essential verses of the Bhagavad Gita. I'll give you those two. This one is repeated. 934 and 1865 are almost identical. So Krishna is summarizing up his whole instruction in the Bhagavad Gita in 2 verses. So I'll give you, I like the one in 65 because he talks about being the friend, otherwise, anyway. Manmana bhavaman bhakto madhyaji mam namaskaru mame vaisasi satyam te patijane priyosime sarva dharman padityajya mame kang sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshiyasyami maashuchaha. Is again this, like a mudra. It says, just think of me, become devoted, worship me and bow down low. You'll come to me, O friend. I promise you this boon I shall bestow. Just give up all other dharmas and surrender only unto me. Your sins I'll nullify, O Arjun. From anxiety be free. So this is an invitation for each one of us. What is the Krishna consciousness movement but thinking of Krishna Manmana, Bhavamad Bhakto, becoming devotees of Krishna. How to do that? Lord Chaitanya, who's Krishna himself, taught his first disciples, Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. Rupa Goswami wrote a systematic book called the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which Srila Prabhupada translated as Nectar of Devotion. You'll find it on a book table out there probably. Another summary study, which is the three things. Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana means who are we in relationship to Krishna? What is the process by which we can realize that? And what is the final goal? The final goal of this whole process is pure love for God, which will automatically take us back to His realm. In fact, even before we go there, even before we die, we can still live there because by your consciousness. Srila Prabhupada would explain, I'm living on two planes. He's there sitting, in 26th Avenue and preaching, and there's a river of traffic outside, not the Yamuna. The 2nd Avenue, it's a very busy thoroughfare in Manhattan, Well, that was what he had. He insisted the door be open so anyone who wanted to come would, come in. So he's sitting there, but I'm still missing my Vrindavan. I'm still, by my consciousness, I'm still with Krishna and Vrindavan. This is the great souls can do that, live on two levels at once. So the more that we determine or decide, and it begins basically with being determined to chant the holy name, chant Hare Krishna. Both kirtan and also japa. We have japa beads we can provide you with, and it's the simplest thing. And understanding what the mantra means, Hare Krishna, Hare it's all vocative. You're calling out to Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, Hare is vocative for Hara. This is the way, Hara is the goddess of fortune, Srimati Radharani. And Krishna, of course, is Krishna. So you're calling out to Radha and Krishna. And Rama can be understood to be Ramchandra or Balaram or also Krishna. Krishna Krishna means all attractive one, just like the word Karshati means to pull. So all attractive means by his form, by his qualities, by his pastime, by his name, everything is attractive, all attractive. And Rama means the ultimate reservoir of unlimited pleasure, Ananda. We don't know what Ananda is. We know the sense gratification. This is my favorite. Anyone who knows, giving me class, I'm going to quote this verse eventually. It's kind of my Srila Prabhupada, the Bhagavad Gita 5:21, I believe it is. Yehi sangsparjaja bhoga dukkha yonaya evate. Adyantavanta konteya nateshu ramate buddha. Now the word Buddha is key. Those who are intelligent do not take part in those pleasures which are a result of the senses contacting their sense object. This is the famous sense gratification. We're familiar with it. We have these 5 senses. Why? O son of Kunti, this is in the verse. O son of Kunti, such pleasures are the sources of all misery and have a beginning and an end. And therefore the wise do not take part in them. Well, then where do I get my pleasure? That's all I know. You see? So that's the previous verse. Oh God. Bhaya sparsheshu asaktatma vindityatmani yat sukham sab brahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshayam ashnate. Now sukham is happiness. Akshay means unbroken. Ashnate, not temporary, ever expanding. You can't find that on the material plane. That's what's promised, and that's what the great devotees are experiencing here and in the spiritual world. So how to give up? We have so many attractions that we've developed over the lifetimes of material attractions. That's the process of chanting and hearing, seeing the deity, sacrificing, the whole, we can find in the Nectar of Devotion process, which systematically relieves us of this pull. It's almost like an addiction of the mind and the senses toward the objects of the senses, even if we know. As many of you know, many of you, sometimes maybe at one time, I was once a cigarette smoker. I used to drink beers with my friend. This is all, when I was 18, like a million years ago. I had no idea there was even such a thing as a spiritual life. Luckily, I was such a lousy drinker that I drank a few beers, I got sick. That was a great blessing. It was pleasurable for a while, and boom, I don't want to do that again. and smoking, I was trying to be an athlete and smoke, so I've smoked for a while, but that was, anyway, that luckily went by the wayside. So, but the same thing, we want to become addicted to Krishna. We want to become so, attracted by just the holy name. Everything is absolute. All the name, form, qualities, pastimes are there in the name of Krishna. This is why when we chant, it never becomes hackneyed. You chant and you hear, you have to be really focused, and you're associating with Krishna personally. And He's attracting you. He's in your heart. He's taking away as He says, I take away the sins. He also takes away the attractions for material things, and you become more and more attracted to it. Coming to the temple and serving and doing it in your life and expanding it. And what is the result? You're successful in your life. You don't have to come back ultimately. And the wonderful thing is, okay, even if you do, because you don't complete the course, it's difficult. It's just, there's no loss or diminution. Where do you find that in the material sphere? Mrityu sarvaharaschaham, Krishna says in the 10th chapter. Who knows what that means? Mrityu sarvaharaschaham. Come on, someone, it's obvious. Come on, go Keshava. Yeah. Go ahead. Mrityu sarvaharaschaham. No. Go. I gave you. Say it. Come on. Mrityu sarvaharaschaham means. You tell, bro. Oh God. All right. I am death, Krishna says, and I take away everything. As death, I take everything away at the time. Who can argue? You could be a big Amazon guy, 100 billion, 20 cars here and there. Doesn't matter. It's insane. The more you get into that, the more entangled you are in this world. That's why we should live as simply as possible, and engage our energy and our time in cultivating Krishna consciousness. So, as death, I take everything away. But then he also says before, in this effort of Krishna consciousness, there's no loss and no diminution. Meaning, even if you just do a little bit, you're coming back as a human being. You avoid the greatest danger. What is it? Mahato bayat. Bayat means fear, but it also means danger. The most fearful danger. And even a little advancement, because Krishna promises nothing is lost. So you have to take birth in a family or in a situation where you can continue. That means a human family. So, but why just settle for a little bit? Let's see if we can go back to Godhead, and if not, then we'll get born in a family and we'll be attracted automatically. So I wanted to just share with you this wonderful analogy of the boat. We need some safe. Boat is a safety, in the ocean. Hopefully, Sometimes you hear about these cruise ships that crash. People go on and expect to enjoy. It's almost like Bhagavad Gita personified. Yeah, you can enjoy. It's just an illusion. So we don't want to enjoy. We want to travel on that boat and go across the ocean of birth and death. Prabhupada would also compare ISKCON to a boat. That you can get on ISKCON. Don't leave. Don't get off the boat. Because we're going back to Godhead. So that's my message for tonight. That let's not waste this wonderful opportunity of human life, and recognize that we have this human body, which is like a boat itself, and if we use it properly, we can cross over the ocean of birth and death and get safe harbor at the lotus feet of Krishna for eternity. I'll leave it at that. If you have any questions or comments, we can try to entertain them. Yes, no, we need a mic carrier. All right, he's coming with that. You stand by though, because there may be others. Go ahead, bro.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Haribo.
Out of 3 boats, first boat I'm clear, which is having body. Guru as captain and Krishna consciousness as favorable wind, cross it. And the third one is having a Bhakti Vairagya, get detached from your desire. That is the third one. The second one, what is a short and sweet summary of the second one? Because I heard that, yes, Vasudeva, overnight took Krishna all the way crossing Yamuna. So what is the crux of the second boat that you mentioned in one line? Yeah,
well, the second one I gave you, I think, was Samashitaye Padapallavaplavam. This is a verse spoken by Brahma in his prayers to Krishna after he became bewildered and he stole the calves and boys, that whole thing. He had some wonderful prayers there. And I think it's actually spoken by Shukadeva after those prayers of Brahma. But anyway, it's often quoted. And the second boat is simply the lotus feet of Krishna themselves. Samashritaye, one who takes full shelter of the lotus feet of Murari, named for Krishna, now which are Mahatpadam, has two meanings. That's where all the Mahatmas gather at the Krishna's lotus feet, and it's also the base of the Mahatattva. In other words, everything rests on Krishna. Punya Yesho, simply by glorifying Krishna, you get good credit, pious credits. Murari. Bhavambuddha. Now, the magic thing about this boat, I don't know if it was clear, you get on the boat, if you're really on the boat of, taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, the whole ocean shrinks down to the amount of water, not in a cow's hoof print, but a calf's hoof print. In other words, so what kind of boat you need? You just walk over it, So it's kind of an interesting boat. You get on the boat, and the water disappears. It's you're across. So that's the and then but the warning there is padam padam yad vipadam natesham. Not for them who have taken shelter of that boat is this world where there's danger at every step. There's danger at every step. We try, in our material life, and we try to create a situation where we forget about the dangers. But it's really hard these days. The climate is changing. There's wars. The nuclear bombs are threatening. This is that, and this. The political situation is frightening just in and of itself. So where is there any shelter? There's no place. You can just delude yourself. I'll just have my little corner here and it'll be safe. But there's no place that's safe. What about the next pandemic? Have we thought about that? The same thing that caused the last pandemic is still around. So the point is, it's padam padam. There's danger everywhere. We know just living here, you're driving on the street. So therefore, we have to be ready at any moment to face the next life. The whole idea, the final exam is death. We're all going to face it. There's no point in thinking, that's a fact. But if we've practiced Krishna consciousness and we're in good association, there's a good chance that we'll think of Krishna at the time of death. I've been at the bedside of many devotees, maybe a half dozen or more, who've passed. They asked me to come to sing because they think I have a good voice or whatever. And so I've seen it's a different experience because I worked in the hospital for a whole year when I was a kid, when I was 20 years old, before I joined. And I was an inhalation therapist. We would go up and give the breathing for people who are dying or very sick. I said, so many people die in the hospital, and most part they keep them under sedation if they know they're going to die, because there's the terminal restlessness. They're seeing these frightening beings coming, the scouts for the Yamadutas are there, whatever. It's a terribly frightening experience. Everything what's going to happen next, what happened to my family, oh my God, But devotees, they're thinking of Krishna, and it's very auspicious. And they're very calm when it happens, because they're being welcomed, So that's what we should, and that's for eternity, It's not just for 70 years, 80 years. It's for eternity. So we should at least look into it and read these books and take this good association and chant. The easiest thing. Incorporated. I started with 2 rounds before I went to work. On the way to work, I sang in the car Hare Krishna. By the time I get to work, I'm all fired up. I thought I would try to heal the patients with the Hare Krishna mantra. But I was at least chanting. But there's some stories about that, but I don't want to get off on that. But the idea is that our opportunities are here. Prabhupada worked so hard. This temple is here. There's so much opportunity for service and for taking the benefits, just seeing these deities. And now there's so many wonderful festivals coming up. Nishringa Chaturdasi is, what is it, Tuesday? Tuesday, right? Yeah, it's just coming up. Yes, it's just coming right around the corner. So that, and oh my God, whatever you do, plan to go to the LA Rath Yatra. And the first Sunday in August, it's always a great, I was there for the first one. In 77, I remember. And we had elephants, yes. At least one elephant, I remember. It was amazing. All right, anyone else? We want to try to leave room for, oh my God, announcements.
Just one comment you asked about Mrityu Sarvaharas Shaham.
What is it? Mrityu Sarvaharas Shaham.
Yeah, so Krishna says, I am all devouring, he devours. So same thing and you also mentioned about nuclear bombs. So I was thinking about Robert Oppenheimer, who is the father of atom bomb, and recently there was a movie released on Oppenheimer, and he says, "Now I am death, the destroyer of all worlds."
Well, the story is that he read the Bhagavad Gita. He was a fan of the Bhagavad Gita. Listen.
Rutherford learned Sanskrit, and he found that energy can neither be destroyed, and that is only Krishna.
Yeah, Kalos Milokakshaya. But I saw once there was Life magazine, I think it was. There were big pictures, and they showed at his bedside he had a little murti of Krishna. Yeah, Oppenheimer. Yeah. He was an aficionado of the Gita, and so when he saw the first bomb blow up, I read, this was some time ago, that the scientists, so many scientists, but he was the lead scientist, they weren't quite sure, but they figured that there's a chance that the whole world will blow up. They didn't, right? And so they said, well, we got to try it anyway. Thanks a lot, But anyway, so it didn't all blow up, obviously, but it was the biggest explosion that there ever was, and he immediately thought of that verse. Kalos milokak chayakrit pravidho. I am time. I am death. I have come to destroy all worlds. And because Krishna was speaking in that voice, Arjuna was frightened, right? He was, who are you? You're not my dear Krishna. He's saying, Kalos miloka. It's quite amazing. So he's just all destroying death, but he's time, but he's also death individually, taking everything away from each one of us, everything material, beginning with our body. But he's not taking away your Krishna consciousness. That is nourishing. That he wants to, and that'll give you another human form of life to take it up again. But we should try to make as much advancement in this life. Why not go for it? We've all been, we're holding the lottery tickets. Now we just need to cash them in. Cash them in by chanting Hare Krishna. The price is very cheap. Hare Krishna, it's free. Prabhupada would always make there's no charge. We're not charging $35 for a secret mantra, if you know the history that was going. Now it's 1,000. We're charging nothing. But ultimately Krishna says, he wants everything. Prabhupada says, yes, once you start, you can't give it up. You may give it up in this lifetime, but next lifetime you go, so you might as well surrender. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. All right, where's the Dayanidhi to make announcements? We have some big festivals coming. Hare Krishna. All glories to Prabhupada.
Jai. Thank you, Dravida Prabhu.
Hare Bol.